Welcome, this is Kali Ma for Cnvstn, and I'm in the beautiful island of the gods, Bali, staying at the Anand Ashram, the haven for spiritual travellers. And today I have with me spiritual activist and humanitarian Swami Anand Krishna. And we're going to talk to you today, or the Swami is, about meditation 24/7. So good morning, Swami.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Nice to have you back here again.
It's my pleasure. So, you are a very intense meditation, meditation being yourself. You hold the meditation retreats here and the International Meditation Festival in Bali, and you teach some wonderful methods of meditation. Could you tell our listeners a little bit how to fit meditation into their normal everyday life, for busy working people and mums and parents?
Right. Well, the basic idea about meditation, to my understanding, is what now in modern psychology is called going transpersonal. So that's the basic idea. From our personal, petty problems and views, we go transpersonal. So the expansion of awareness that we desire to have from meditation is to be considerate about what is happening around you. This is the whole idea, and Jesus would put it, love your neighbor as you would love yourself. So that is already meditation in action. So I think the idea for last 2 decades or so, we have identified meditation with certain techniques. So techniques are good. Techniques are to prepare us, to prepare the ground. But after that, just being aware of what is happening around you and being considerate, sharing, caring, that's the
So meditation, you're saying, can actually just be an attitude of being?
That's right. It's an attitude, yes. That's the correct word, yes. Yeah. So it's an attitude, and to keep on, expanding this attitude. It's not a static thing, so it's not full stop. There's never full stop. Even Buddha, when he got enlightened, he said this is just a process. And he never said that I'm already enlightened. The word he used was Buddha, as I'm awakening.
Awakening. Not that I am awake.
No, I'm awakening. Yes. I'm getting up.
Actually, someone asked me that earlier this morning, do you believe these people are enlightened beings? Yeah. And I said, I think they have moments.
True. Moments, and it's a lifelong process. There's no such thing as full stop. It goes on, and from your immediate environment, from your immediate, circle, you go on expanding it. Like Buddha, when he got enlightened, the first thing he did was to go back home, to share his awareness with his family.
Like a special gift.
Right, like a special gift. I got something, and I want to share it. And this happens. I mean, you would like to share it. It's like one of my gurus would say, it's like a pregnant woman, So she cannot hold it anymore, and she wants to give birth. And this is what happens to a meditator. He wants to share his understanding of life, his appreciation of life, and all that.
And it's such a beautiful practice to have in your daily life, isn't it? To start your day with this attitude of centeredness and openness.
True. Yeah, once you're centered, once you realize in Sanskrit it is always connected with the word swa, S-W-A. So it's a self. It is self-study, self-introspection, self in everything.
So is it the same as when they say like bodhi swaha? The same swa? Okay.
No, it's not the same swa. But swaha also the meaning is basically the same. When you say swaha, you are actually submitting to the higher authority, higher power. It's not higher authority in the context of worldly authority, but to higher power, and that higher power is within you. So you are submitting to not your body consciousness, but to the inner consciousness within. And that's how Swaha is, I give up my petty ego.
I
give up my petty ego.
Okay.
So basically it leads to the same thing.
It's the same thing.
You study yourself. Yeah.
So you're saying that there's many, and of course we know many varied techniques for meditation.
Right.
Do you use a certain technique or recommend a certain technique, or how do you believe people should meditate?
Well, there are so many techniques, and if you go back in time, there are 112 techniques given by Shiva to his consort, his spiritual consort, Parvati, and this is recorded in a scripture called Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. So if you see any meditation technique anywhere in the world, it has some roots in those techniques.
It'll go back to the original.
Yeah. But then all those 112 techniques are not to be practiced by everyone. So you can pick any one of them, or two of them, three of them. But I have seen in my practice for the last 22 years now that certain techniques are more conducive, better for Westerners. Certain techniques are better for Easterners. Like the basic problem with the East now, that we have been very lazy, we have been very much pampered by our nature. You can grow anything, you don't have to work hard here. There's no such thing as survival. In the West, you have to face the challenge of seasons.
Yes.
And all those things don't exist here. It's all year-round tropics and you can grow anything. So those challenges... I just heard
that we're having 41, 42, 43 degree heat at home, and there's raging bushfires.
Right. You don't get to hear those things here, Even though Kalimantan is burning and all the wood is gone there, and still there's so much in this country, in regions like this. So we need techniques which can make people more dynamic. And in the West, you need technique where people can become more settled.
Yes, that's for sure.
So,
it's almost a didactic opposite, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why, in the West, you see now Zen is very much popular, and it has to be popular. But if you start teaching Zen in Indonesia the way we are teaching in the West, Vipassana and all that, it won't work. It would make them more lazy.
Yes, yeah. So what form of dynamic meditations then do you prescribe?
Yeah, well, basically it's certain pranayam, certain breathing techniques from yoga, which are like Kapalabhati or something like that, which is also used in rebirthing techniques,
Yes.
So all those techniques can make you more expressive, and this is what we need in the East, to make one more expressive. But what I'm doing is, because we have people like, you can see that we have people from West and East.
You have such a mix of people coming to the ashram.
And there's the same thing also in Jakarta. We have people coming from different parts of the world. So in that case, I try to put a balance. I have created these 5 techniques which we call self-empowerment techniques. And these techniques is just to create a balance. There is some portion of it which is more sublime, more to settle, and some techniques which are dynamic. And I look at the audience. If I have more Westerners, then I can, adjust the timing. The timing for...
Mind you, when you're in Bali, you don't really need to adjust the timing. Bali does it for us.
In Bali, I don't.
I have so much sleep and rest here. I think, I've just had a sleep and I could have another nap now.
You're right.
Yes, so in these dynamic meditations, you're using different forms of pranayam.
Yes.
And you said you've got, is it 4 or 5 empowerment meditations?
5.
5
of them. So actually it's based on the 5 koshas in yoga, the 5 domains, 5 layers of consciousness.
How interesting,
yes.
Yeah.
So it's on the physical, for the physical layer, and for mental, emotional, and for intellectual layer and all that. But basically each technique also stands on its own. So basically each technique is addressing to all these 5 layers, but there are some emphasizes. So one of the techniques yesterday, what we did was the emphasis on the emotional layer, and the technique earlier was on the physical layer. But yet we are actually addressing all layers.
Yes, well, it's very hard to separate anything in the body. It's sort of one wonderful machine, isn't it? Really,
right. Everything is so interconnected.
Yes, yeah. So, do you have any way that people can learn these techniques apart from coming here to the ashram? Have you written about them in your 151 books?
Yes. In fact, these techniques I've been repeating over and over in, I think, about 10 books or so, because sometime a book is out of print and it's not reprinted, and I write a new book and I give the same technique again. I use 4 or 5 pages to give the technique. But of course, when I give the technique here, when I'm there or any facilitator is there, anybody can learn it. There's no monopoly or anything, no magical thing about this. So, but basically, it's...
I like that you say that because that's one of the teachings that was coming. No, I made a spelling mistake once. I said not monopoly, but no monoply on light. You know, like people think, oh, this way of healing is it, and this this way, and you have to go to level 5 before you can pass this on.
I don't believe in all that. But basically, there are certain things like Kapalabhati. You know yoga, so there are so many versions of Kapalabhati. Actually, if you go to India, from one school to another school, there are different versions, and we try to give the what you call the softest version, the lightest version in the books. But when they come here, then we try to give a more medium or more advanced version, because then you know how to control someone. If in Indonesia, we got this problem of people going...
black magic.
Yeah, so, once they start... Actually, it's the pranayam is trying to, to trigger their emotions. So all the suppressed emotions come out. So then when they go a bit hysteric, they feel that they are being possessed by some kind of soul or something.
People feel like that everywhere, don't they? They don't... Yeah. I think... It's strange. I think the human nature's got to a strange place. I don't think it's always been like that. It's like you're not allowed to have any sadness or grief or feel angry or crazy. You have to be on this perfectly even keel of life.
True.
And it's not part of the rhythm of life, really, is it?
It's not. But this is part of the childhood education in all over Indonesia. All over Indonesia that you have to... So there's a word here. I always criticize that we are trying to force ourselves to be patient.
Yes.
So to develop patience is something else, but to force yourself to be patient, that's not the case. So we have, what do you call it in psychology, the multiple personality.
Yes, the only difference is that between us and something... I'm a voice dialogue therapist.
Yes.
So I've worked with lots of cases of people without having the awareness that joins them together. We're all schizophrenic.
Yes, more or less.
Speak for yourself, hey? So when you said I found that very interesting. In the early Vedas, there's 112 different techniques for meditation.
Yes.
And correct me if I've got this wrong.
Actually, this Tantra.
Tantra.
Okay,
So it was under my impression that you're channeling through these forms of meditation. They came through for when you were doing your own healing process from a severe life-threatening illness.
Yes. Actually, what happened...
But you channel into this ancient wisdom because it's all there in the energy field, isn't it?
Right, and I didn't know. I had not read the book earlier when I was channeling this, and I had not read this book. It's called Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. So I had not read this book. I read the book much later, a few years later, 4 or 5 years later. I thought, my God, these techniques were there.
Well, that's to say that I got techniques through, and I even get Indian names, and I think, what? I don't even know how to spell it, how to write it, or just put it down. So everything's really out there in the cosmos for us if we can just, our antennas can open up, hey?
Right, it's just... when you are in the same frequency, like Solomon would say that there's nothing new under the sky, everything is there.
Yes. Last night I found it very interesting when you were talking in the empowerment of meditation for the emotions about the short syllables for the lower...
short frequency.
For the short frequency goes out further. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because Nada yoga is a really big, important part of meditation in my mind, anyway.
Right. It's the same like radio reception. Like what I was saying, that short wave is short wave, but it can, catch any broadcast from so many places. So the shorter the wave, short wave 1, short wave 2, we used to have those big radios last time, The higher shortwave 10 or 12, it's more shorter the wave is, and it can connect you with a very distant part of the world. And it's similarly, we have to go within, and we have to go within to the deepest recesses of our being. And for that, we need a very short frequency, very short wave frequency.
And what do you feel is tucked away in those deep recesses of one's being that they do not know about?
It is the same thing like the deepest recesses of the universe, At one point, all the scientists, they believe that we come to the situation where everything, all this manifestation will come to a single point, and that point will have the density, will have the weight of the total universe.
0 point.
0 point, and it will be so heavy, So that point is there within us also, within each one of us. And in that point, we are all united. This is what Albert Einstein was getting at. He called it unified field of energy. So if I can get to that point, and you're getting to that point, I'm meeting you. I'm meeting with 6 billion other people, and maybe not only people, not only human beings, but also all living beings. So at that point, then you feel the affinity, and at that point, the scriptures say you can reach the stage where you can say that soham, that I am. You cannot even describe it. You cannot even say it is God or what, or she God or he God or it God.
Our
it
language
just that.
loses a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we've sort of got a little bit off track. What value do you think then using sound in meditation is?
It's very important, very important. Music is very important. Music can also take you to that.
So many schools of meditation, because I love having sound, and then other schools of meditation say, no, you must just only use the breath. Sound is just a distraction for the mind.
Well, I use a lot of sound, I use a lot of music, but there are certain things which I'm careful about, because like certain drums. Drum is good to cleanse you emotionally. So if somebody is emotionally suppressed, you use drum. And if somebody wants to have more peace, then you use string music. Either it is sitar or it is harp or it is guitar, all the string. So there are certain things which you can anybody can learn. All this is available. So when do you face which kind of audience, then you have to be using that kind of sound.
Yes, I see. And what about the value of chant in meditation?
A chant in Sanskrit now, I'm working with Sanskrit chants. I'm not really working with other chants. I would love to, but I haven't had time to explore those things. But yes, Sanskrit chants are Sanskrit is not a spoken language. It is a program language. The Sanskrit itself, the meaning is customized. So,
and you did tell me once before too, which would be very interesting for our listeners, about the Sanskrit is the only language you can program easily into a computer.
Yes, directly to computers, so you don't need any other medium.
Yeah.
And this was found by the NASA scientist. I've got a book on that. It's called Devavani, the Language of Gods. So there's a study there, and they found out that they can really apply this language directly to the computer. So it is not a spoken language, and that's why I would agree, especially for Sanskrit, that the wording should be as much as possible. We try to do it correctly. But again, you don't go to hell if you pronounce it wrongly a bit.
So in a way, I wonder if I'm right in saying you could actually say that meditation is language.
Yes, it is. It is beyond Sanskrit. It is beyond Sanskrit.
The language of the divine.
Exactly. Chants and all that, any language, whether it's Sanskrit, Greek, anything, is just leading you to that state of what we call, even the fourth chakra, anahat, unstruck sound. Sound that happens by itself. Sound that you don't need any musical instrument to. So on the fourth chakra itself, you are already actually in tune with that sound.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, I think we might have to leave the first part of our meditation 24/7
right
here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.